Growing up in a abusive home would be unimaginable. Add in a alcoholic mother and a dash of the 1800s and you get a serial killer or someone who is mentally unwell. Okay, let's go. Martha Needle was born on the 9th of April 1864, making her
Old.
an Aries.
And old.
And very old.
I know she's one of you.
One of us, one of us. You don't get many. You don't get many.
Many Aries?
You don't get many Aries.
We're going to say very many.
Very many Aries.
Many Aries.
Very many Aries serial killers. She grew up in a small rural town of Morgan in South Australia.
Oh, so it's old. Her name's Martha, and it's an Australian case.
Yeah.
I like this.
You're welcome. Morgan is actually northwest of Kapunda.
The Kapunda Hotel?
Yay, a little town we may already have heard of. If you haven't checked out that episode, you should.
You absolutely should. And you'll hear me try to correct her and says Kapunda.
Kapunda.
When I know it's not. So I don't know why I did that.
Sounds better. Her parents were Giuseppe or Joseph for the non-Italians. Like Joseph because he was not Italian.
Like me.
Yeah. Her dad wasn't Italian. I just wanted to say Giuseppe. So Joseph Henry Charles and Mary Charles. They would actually separate 7 months before Martha was born. Unfortunately for Martha, by the time she was 2 years old, her mother would remarry, and it was another man by the name of Daniel Foran. And you might be thinking, poor Martha, why poor Martha? It's the 1800s. Mary might need a man instead of being a single mother. I don't know, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, who knows, don't know.
Same.
Police reports would suggest that Martha had a poor, unhappy childhood surrounded by violence and abuse. You see, Martha's mother was an alcoholic, which I think was big at the time, because hello, 1800s.
It's always been popular.
Yeah. But she also had a few convictions to her name for being drunk, indecent language, which I would have been in so much shit for, and also willful damage. Can you imagine getting arrested for swearing?
Oh, yeah.
I would have just stepped out my door and got arrested.
Yeah.
Stubbed me toe. Oh, shit, you
But also, like, what words was she actually saying? And can I also remind everyone how kind of Australia came to be as far as when it was colonised by criminals, by convicts, and we're sitting there arresting people because they said poppycock, oh poo-poos,
poo-poo on you,
shitty stick,
shit stick.
Come on.
Oh, don't say that. A neighbour would later give evidence that Martha's mother used to beat her pretty severely at times and would be seen hitting her with a stick.
Martha.
Yeah, and was told by Martha that her mother would tie her up and hit her with a rope.
So she'd whip her.
Yeah. Now, remember how I said poor Martha to her mother remarrying?
Yeah.
I mean, her mother is already a monster, obviously, but her stepfather was even worse. I found news clippings, and I'm going to read one to you now. Can I just say as well, pause. That was a loud pause. It was very interesting finding news clippings. It was like 1800s and I'm finding news clippings. This is very exciting.
Well, girl, that's the same shit I had in Gatton.
I was like, it's weird.
Weird.
Not very good what's in the news clippings, but, you know, it's interesting. Daniel Foran, who was charged with indecently assaulting his stepdaughter, Martha Charles, aged 11 years old, at Adelaide in December 1875 and found guilty, was next brought up for sentence. His Honour alluded to the enormity of the crime of which prisoner had been found guilty and sentenced him to the full term allowed by the Act 2 years with hard labour for sexually assaulting his 11-year-old stepdaughter.
Yeah, no thank you. Let's normalise not doing that.
Yeah. And I was also like, what's 2 years hard labour? Do you know what 2 years hard labour was back then?
Well...
Because I wasn't sure if it was like commonly known or if I was just... A silly willy.
Well, no, it also depends too. So there are ones that I've watched, but I think it relates more to the UK, where they would serve hard labor, whatever the actual sentence was, and they were literally forced to do repetitive activities for like the whole day, and that would be maybe walking up like a like a stepping machine at the gym, or dragging around like really heavy things back and forward on a quarry. Like they'd have to do crazy stuff. I don't know if this is the same sort of thing, but that's the stuff that I'd seen on a doco once.
That's very interesting. I like that.
So not that at all.
No, I think kind of similar in the sense of like they would go to prison and then it was hard labour, like maybe quarry work or like the old...
Physical.
Yeah, like really hard physical work. By the time Martha was 17, she married a man by the name of Henry Needle, who was 5 years older than her and described as a short, strong-built carpenter. Why you gotta put short in there? That poor man. Even in the 1800s, he was a short man.
Well, the question, I guess, that is flying around my head is how short?
Yeah, I don't know. Short enough to be called short in descriptions.
Public record.
Yeah. The couple would eventually move to Sydney and have their first child on the 13th of November 1882, and they named her Mabel Hannah.
Mabel Hannah.
Mabel. 2 years later, the couple would have another child called Elsie.
Elsie. That's cute.
Yeah. After Elsie, they decided to move to Melbourne, eventually settling into Richmond. I found an article in a paper from 1894, and I must say, like I said before, I love finding newspaper articles. So this article, and I quote, "During the first years of their Melbourne life, Needle and his wife were apparently happy in such others' company, and their neighbours looked upon them as a comfortably situated and well-matched couple." Of course, we know for some couples the honeymoon period or the married honeymoon period can start to deteriorate after a year or two, and that is exactly what happened.
Oh no.
Ruh-roh.
They didn't get the 5-year itch, they got the 2-year itch.
Yeah. The couple seemed to be less cordial towards one another, and it is said that Mrs. Needle would go out unaccompanied by her husband, Escandalo.
Scandalo.
Yeah.
Sometimes the whole life, you know.
Henry started to become jealous because I only found reports that she was being a bit flirty. I don't know if she was getting any or if it was just going for some drinks, being a bit flirtatious with her man.
No, she would have been sleeping around.
She's getting around.
And that's fine, no judgment, people do it.
Near the end of 1885, their eldest daughter Mabel, who was only 3 years old, started to get very ill.
Uh-oh.
SpaghettiOs.
This sounds like poisoning.
Just you wait, sunshine.
I will wait, sunshine.
She suffered from a fever, vomiting, and spasms of the stomach. Unfortunately, she would pass away on the 28th of December 1885. Dr. Frederick Elsner certified that Mabel died from a cerebral tumour and respiratory and cardiac bronchitis.
What a bloody mouthful.
Yeah. Now, I did find conflicting reports, but I'm going to pop it in here anyway because hello, 1800s. But some people said that Martha received a £100 life insurance policy on Mabel. But like there wasn't enough for me to go,
Listen, ho.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna jump the gun. I got the boom, boom, bang. But listen, I've done enough cases right now. Like, sorry to spoil it for listeners at home, and I don't actually know this particular case, but and you can obviously cut this out if you're boring. This sounds like some type of poisoning, whether it's arsenic or thallium, or the other one that we spoke about recently, laudanum. It sounds like some type of poisoning because of the symptoms that were there. Like, I'm gonna be pleasantly surprised if that's not the case, but I'm here for it, no?
Yeah, and if you've been listening to us for long enough, you should know. The couple had another baby sometime in 1886, which they called May.
Was it in May?
Well, that's what I thought, but then no, I couldn't find exact details.
When did they conceive? Could the conception have been in May?
I don't know, because as I was doing this case, I kept going down and it was like, May. I'm like, who is May? What happened in May? And then I found out the baby was May, and I'm like, okay, when was May born? Was it May? And I just got dates. I was like, okay, cool. But once again, do not bring a child into an already unhappy marriage or relationship. It will not fix it.
Listen, it's not a band-aid. People think you can put the baby band-aid
It's not a band-aid.
It's not a band-aid.
3 years later.
Oh no. Tuck it in.
In 1889, Henry fell ill.
Oh, don't tuck it in. That's a different kind of tuck it in.
His doctor would recall that he was suffering from acute vomiting and noted that his behaviour was a bit odd.
He was dying.
He is dying.
Sorry, but he has an excuse to be a bit odd because of that.
Yeah. So the odd thing was that any food that Martha had served him, he wouldn't touch.
Because he knew.
Anything she tried to serve him, he would wave it aside or would throw it over the floor or against the wall.
Because he was a smart kid.
Henry would give no explanation as to why he would not take food from Martha.
I'm sure she probably knew.
And on the 4th of October 1889, with Martha by his side, he passed away.
So she snuck it in.
The official cause of death was subacute hepatitis, persistent vomiting, enteric fever, which I was like, well, enteric fever, and basically inflammation of the liver and intestines, and also exhaustion due to not being able to take any nourishment.
What's acute hepatitis?
Look,
There's nothing cute about it. Gotta tell ya.
It's the 1800s. How are they coming up with all this jazz?
There's random names of the...
I do not know. Although the illness seemed rather sudden and a bit mysterious,
Yeah. Ooh.
having only just lost their daughter a few years before, no post-mortem was performed and no suspicion was attached to Martha, as she seemed so devoted to looking after him when he was sick. Now, another conflicting report about the whole receiving life insurance, as some say she received a payout for his death, but articles from that time and history sites would show me the below info. After the death of her husband, Martha started to fall on tough times due to lack of income. So she gathered up her husband's tools from his trade and books and raffled them off amongst her friends, pushing sales with the statement that the death of her husband had left her without means. So that's where I'm kind of like, it's conflicted. It's like, did she actually get fraud payouts, like insurance payouts, and spend it?
That also doesn't mean that they both can't be true at the same time.
Exactly.
So he could have left her without means as far as a steady income coming in, but if she had some type of insurance on him, then I mean technically he's still not providing income. She just made money off his death.
Yeah. So the only thing I found weird, it was like on this historic site, I actually found that she raffled off his stuff, but I didn't find life insurance stuff on there. So I was like, if it happened, why isn't it on there? Or yeah, I don't know. Roughly a year after her husband passed, 6-year-old Elsie would fall ill.
Oh God.
Her doctor originally thought she was suffering from the measles. However, he would later recall that the young child had been vomiting. The doctor would later mention how doting Martha was when Elsie was sick, and every time the doctor visited, she never stopped his attendance and was always kind and attentive. Poor Elsie would suffer with her illness for 2 months before passing away on the 9th of December 1890. Just 7 months later, 4-year-old May's health would decline. The once happy and healthy girl began to display some curious symptoms, and one of the most notable was...
vomiting?
Only 1 month later, on the 27th of August 1891, May passed away, with her death being listed as tubercular meningitis, which infects the membranes around the brain and spinal cord, causing swelling that hinders the normal blood flow.
And obviously because it's tubercular, which makes me think of lungs, there probably would have been some type of respiratory issue, the same as her little sister, right?
Again, the doctor would later state that the case attracted his attention and that he was rather puzzled as he could not arrive at a diagnosis that he felt comfortable with. No shit, Sherlock. Look, I know it's the 1800s, but why list a death in a house that has already lost how many family members from the same kind of issues and go, look, I'm not that confident, but let's say it's this. Why?
Shoddy work.
Martha, of course, was praised for her care of her daughter during her illness, with people saying she seemed to show all the motherly love and affection for her child, and after her loss, she was greatly distressed.
Do we know if she ever received a diagnosis of Munchausen?
No, but probably. You'd think so.
Just because I know that they normally injure their loved ones to seek praise for being doting and caring and that kind of stuff. So I wonder if maybe there's some undiagnosed Munchausen's by proxy or whatever they call it. I don't know this. I'm just throwing ideas around.
Doing more than what the doctor did, let's just say that.
Well.
After May's passing, Martha thought it might be a good idea to move and start again.
Of course, because you've already killed an entire family. Your entire family.
Yeah, you lost your whole family. Yeah, they're all gone.
So let's start again.
Why not? She ended up moving to Richmond with a man by the name of Otto Juncken, a young carpenter who lived with his brother Lewis in a saddlery shop. Otto had actually met Henry whilst doing a few carpentry jobs together. So just someone that her husband worked with. When Martha was left childless and a widow, Otto reached out and offered a space in the 2-story building the brothers were living in. It wouldn't take long until Martha and Otto formed a relationship.
Oh, shock. I had no idea that you were going to go in that direction at all.
You didn't know?
No.
Not at all?
No.
And then they later became engaged.
Shock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely out of the blue. Apparently Otto's brother, Lewis, nearly said Louise. Lewis.
Could be. We don't know.
Was not very happy with this engagement. I found some reports that after the engagement, Martha's behaviour started to change. She would become unresponsive or rigid for long periods of time, and on one occasion she went out to search for her children.
No, she didn't.
So what do you think happened to old Louis on the 25th of April, 1894?
My guess is that he succumbed to some strange kind of symptoms, right? Possible vomiting, possible tubercular meningitis, acute hepatitis, the AIDS virus, cancer, polyps, and then the bubonic plague.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a wiener.
Got it.
So yeah, vomiting, sore mouth and gums, and a sore tongue.
It really does feel, well, it feels like either mercury poisoning or arsenical poisoning. That's what it feels like.
You can feel it in your waters. Let's see what we can...
Look, I can feel it in my butthole. I bet you can too.
Let's see, shall we? Otto would later state that he remembers Lewis getting ill and Martha would help Otto attend to his brother. She prepared the food for him and gave him his medicine. On the 15th of May, Lewis passed away, with his death certificate stating he died from ulcerative endocarditis, which is an inflammation of the inner lining of the heart chambers and valves. After Lewis's burial, Herman, Otto's other brother, came to Melbourne to wind up some business and get some things together. His sister Emma also accompanied him. Around 7 days after his arrival, Herman started to feel a bit ill. His doctor, obviously puzzled by his symptoms, decided to get Herman's vomit analysed. And lo and behold, what do you think they found? And this is your time, Mr. Voodoo. What are we locking in?
I'm going to lock in arsenical poisoning of some type.
Final answer?
Oh, I don't like this because then I could be wrong, but I really want to be right.
No, I want this.
Look, Eddie, look it in.
Arsenic? Immediately, the doctor called the police. Once Herman recovered, finally some movement started to happen. The police set a trap. Herman went for tea with Martha while the police hid outside the house. Within a few minutes, Martha was caught in the act of offering a cup of tea containing 10 grains of arsenic, and a box of Rough on Rats was found in the cupboard. The bodies of Lewis, Henry, Elsie and May were exhumed, and all were found containing traces of
arsenic.
Martha was tried in September 1894 for the murder of Lewis Juncken. Her counsel tried to argue that during her long periods of unconsciousness, you know how she was acting a bit strange? Yeah, well, she wasn't responsible for her actions then, and you know that's when it could have occurred.
But what about when she did it when she's making a cup of tea for someone and she was completely responsive? What about that?
She wasn't responsive then.
Ah.
Yeah.
Right.
Doctors, however, were quick to reject the plea of insanity, stating the law cannot wait while philosophers, physicians, and scientists settle metaphysical problems. Justice must be swift and sure.
I agree.
Of course, the jury found Martha Needle guilty and sentenced her to be hanged at the Melbourne jail on the 22nd of October 1894, at just 30 years old.
She was only 30. What a bitch.
All her belongings were left to Otto, and it was said that he supported her right to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, well.
Something to mention was a few days after Martha's trial ended, a lawyer by the name of Marshall Lyle wrote to the governor on behalf of the Victorian branch of the Howard Association for the Prevention of Crime. I'm not going to go into full detail as it can be found online, but pretty much he states that a woman killing her children is not normal, especially when she loved them so much, and he argues that it was only rational to assume that was a kind mother murders her children, she is insane. He advocated for a proper scientific inquiry of her case to be done, rather than the Crown's use of incompetent medical men. That's what he wrote. Damn. He wrote incompetent medical men. So, what do you think, dear mung beans? Insane or just a monster?
Insane. She got no brain. And she's a monster. She's an insane monster.
Yeah, I don't think you can blame, but she's a mother and loves her kids.
Nah.
But
Sorry.
I also think she could have been a bit.
Sorry, but that's a no. Like, you can still be crazy. Like, people have mental illness. That is a thing. I'm not going to shame that. But there are many people with mental illness who do not destroy and delete their entire family. And then some.
But she also killed her husband and her fiance's
And then complained that she had no income.
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be a few screws loose up in that house.
Yeah. I think she had a bit of a breakdown after killing her children and going, a bit, looking for her children and being a bit, like, obviously that's going to mess you up somehow, but...
Well, she probably could have found them in the cemetery that they were buried in. But she killed them. She can't bring them back.
Yeah.
What a dodo. I hate that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Great episode, but also, Matt.
Yeah. And on that note...
See you later.
Alligator.
Don't forget your toilet paper.
Oh, is that what you say? Don't forget your toilet paper.
Yeah.
In a while, crocodile.
Peace.
See ya.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
We're friends. Don't need any more.
She's gonna be popular.
Henry, Charles, and Mary. What?
I don't know. It's your story, Tom.
It's my tits. Stop it.
Tits need to quit.
They need to off. She was cordial.
Cordial. What flavour?
Raspberry.
Raspberry cordial.
No, lime.
Cordial.
She used lime cordial. But ding ding ding, we have a wiener. I need to do that again because I'm going to be like, Andy.